So, we had a bit of a break from this big, amazing room. I'm happy that so many of you came back to start our final closing session already. We had 4 very interesting, and I hope also for you, inspiring workshops with a lot of fruitful discussions I could hear in some of the rooms. Now is the time to hear a little bit what happened in this workshop. So we will now hear the rapporteurs, which I hope each of the workshops has elected one person to be the rapporteur. And I know that from the first group, it is Ben, who will be presenting the main points discussed in the first group, gathering the European Apprenticeships Network together with the Spanish apprentices. Ben, come up, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. We had a lovely full room of apprentices and learners and folk who are involved in listening to apprentices and thinking about how they can embed apprentice voice in the organisations that they belong to. We had an interactive session, and one of the key themes that came through the various discussions was that in that room we had people who were expert by learning. So we had a chap who, Stefan, who said, yeah, we're interested in research. So that we looked at that as being one way of having expertise so that we could improve apprenticeships. But also we had apprentices themselves who were able to talk about their experience and say, these are the things that affect me in my apprenticeship and the way that I learn. We spent the bulk of the session thinking about some of the topics that the European Apprentice Network might work on and drawing on the expertise of the people in the room. It will come as no surprise if you've been listening to apprentices today that one of the key issues that 2 of the 3 groups looked at was apprentice mental health, not just in terms of how people are feeling, but also the way that their work, their education, and the society that they live in has an impact on apprentice mental health. One of the learners from Germany talked about housing, talked about the structural issues that mean that apprentice mental health is the second pandemic that we are having to struggle with at the moment. No. That was what we talked about, Mateusz. So.
I'm sorry.
One of the things that we also noticed in our group was that with the young people in the room, we finished on time and we didn't overrun. So I wanted to carry that on into our rapporteur.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, and good to hear that at least the youth is on time. Excuse me for this, I was a bit interrupted. Now let's come to the second group, and the rapporteur is, I heard a name of Anna, is that correct? The rapporteur from the second group, who is there? Did you just, sorry, yeah, so the second group was the Spanish-speaking group. That's what I remember. Yeah, sure, it's you, come. Yes, come here, please.
Okay. Hello again. So I'm going to be the rapporteur for the second group that it was about the Spanish system and the, I don't remember exactly the name. It was about the Spanish system. So we talk about some of the criteria. It was about criteria 1 to 14 that the vocational educational training and the apprentices should have in Spain. And if we are near or far from achieving those criteria. One of them, for example, was about the pedagogical, that word is really bad, support, that it's really, really important, but we're still in Spain far from it to achieve a real pedagogical support. So yeah, and it's fundamental to have that. Then we have also the support to the companies, that is also really, really important, but we are still far from it. And then we have the orientation and sensibility. Yeah, that it's also really, really important. All the criteria in general are really, really important, but we're still far from achieving those. We have many, many resources to achieve them, and we have many proposals to achieve and to be nearer to these criteria, but we are still, you know, we need to really put them in action and really see these into achievements. Sorry for. And then we also have the social. How is between having to translate into Spanish now into English is kind of yeah, the social partners. That it's also really, really important, and we are also in Spain far from achieving the real communication between social partners and school, for example. Because at the end, all these criteria are integrated in each other's. So there's no criteria 1 if criteria 14 is not there. At the end, they are all their goal for all these criteria are to have a better education for all these vocational educational training and all these apprentices. At the end, they are, what we want is for them to have a fair, equal, and quality in their education. We need more collaboration between the schools and the companies, and also sharing their responsibilities at the end, feeling like you are also part of the movement, and that everything goes with you. It's not like, oh no, that doesn't belong to me, it's not my responsibility, but really feeling like you have the responsibility because you are at the end are a citizen of that, you're part of the system at the end. I'm so sorry. Also, it was really, really important to sensibilize the society about apprentices, and to really break the stigma about it, to really build a bridge from society to apprenticeships. At the end, to get to know the success of apprentices, and to break it, in order to break the stigma. You know, if you know that that system is working, and maybe it would not be any longer a bad thing or a second level education, as it's sometimes seen in society. So for really bringing the voice of apprentices at the end, apprenticeships. I think I'm missing a lot of things that we debate, because at the end we had a very successful debate, and I think we were, almost everyone were at the same page, that we are in Spain far from these achievements, but that we are working on it, that we won't stop working on this, and that we will engage apprentices into the conversation, and that we really, really want to achieve this, and that we won't stop until we see this accomplished. So we have a lot of answers to how to do this. So bringing this to maybe another debate internally in Spain could be a nice idea, and to have maybe this internal conversation. I think this can be most of what we talked and discussed, and we were really, really in the same page and seeing that we are all forward the change is the nicest thing. And sorry for being so nervous and everything. I was just, after all the day and everything, it's exhausting as we all are. So yeah, maybe one of my, the ones that were in the breakout session wants to bring something else, but if not, that's everything from my side.
Thank you, Caridad. At least it's good to hear that the Spanish-speaking group could agree that they're on the same page, that they have the same goal setting, and that you all want to include apprentices in your dialogue and you want to achieve the same goals. To come to our third group, the EAfA, the group which is composed of the EAfA members, who discussed about the embedding the voice of apprentices in the decision-making, I would like to invite now Aneta, who wants to say a few words to us about the group work.
Thank you. We also had a very fruitful discussion where we included voices of almost every stakeholder there is in decision-making processes. And we tried to have several points that we would like to give an example how to include the voices, and even more how to involve the apprentices and learners in decision-making processes. First would be to inform the learners and apprentices that their opinions matter and that these opinions should be expressed, because not all of them are aware of that. Then, after they know what they need to do, we need to train them how to express the opinions. That would be an example by not only training them in technical skills, but also training them in soft skills. Presentation skills, negotiation skills, communication skills, even critical thinking, because they will also have to challenge some of the opinions expressed. And they all need that to voice their opinion. In the process of voicing the opinion, we also need to coach them. And if we find obstacles in the process, we need to find a way how to remove it. For instance, by having open dialogue and discussion. We had very good examples of organization that involve learners by having regular official surveys about the process or about all aspects of apprenticeships. Also having informal chats with representatives of all hierarchical levels of organization. Here, when engaging in a dialogue, the level of the participants should not be taken into consideration, because sometimes people who are on a higher position overpower the opinions of people or apprentices who are new in the process. So here also another example that was mentioned is to have regular feedback sessions with the apprentices and their mentors in the organization, and also to follow up on what is being proposed, not only to hear the opinion, but also follow up on the opinions expressed. For the ones who do not want to include the apprentices, the next step would be to create and design systems that involve apprentices, so in order not to overlook them. And next step would be also to take action. What does it mean to take action? Start with small steps if it's not designed on a system level. Show good examples and practices. serve as leaders for some organizations and give a variety of approaches and enable each organization or a body to adapt them to their own needs, because in these cases there is no one-size-fits-all approach. We've seen also at many events we cannot copy-paste approaches, but we can adapt good practices in order to have good solutions which is accepted from everybody. Last but not least, we should create awareness among the stakeholders for the necessity and importance of involving learners, because one thing is diversity. We always talk about diversity. What does it mean? That means that we have a representative of learners when we decide something or when we are doing a workshop. But here we need to have inclusion. And what does it mean? That means creating an environment where apprentices and learners are feeling valued, respected, and empowered to take active part in decision-making processes and being actively involved in creating their own future.
Thank you, dear Aneta. I think it was a very interesting summary. Now we should have the group number 4, which was joining us online. And okay, perfectly. We can already see Anna. Anna, the floor is yours to summarize, please, the main points raised by your online participants in their discussion on making apprenticeships more attractive for the youth.
Thanks, gracias, y buenas tardes a todos. So yes, I'm Ana Carrero, I'm here in Brussels, and I have moderated the 4th breakout room with online participants. We were a small group, but very varied, from Greece, Norway, Slovenia, Spain, and Catalonia, representing public institutions, vet schools, teachers, researchers, and apprentices. So a bit of everything. So we have covered the topic of attractiveness because, as you know, depending on the country, the image of apprentices could be a barrier. No, they could be perceived these learning pathways as a second choice compared to other career and learning pathways. So this situation has been acknowledged by many of our policy reference documents, like the 2018 Council recommendation on the European Framework for Quality and Effective Apprenticeships, or the 2020 Council recommendation on VET. And also, we have been working at EU level to improve the attractiveness with initiatives like the European Alliance for Apprenticeships, but also through the work of the European Vocational and Skills Week, by mobilizing stakeholders at all levels to promote VET attractiveness, and also through the awards that are embedded in this framework. But nevertheless, we, of course, need to have everybody on board at all levels, and that is why we wanted to cover this topic today in the discussion. So we all agreed that the challenges are quite varied, and they depend a lot on the country. Sometimes working with hands is perceived as a less prestigious task. Working conditions may not be appealing enough for apprentices, and there could be also misconceptions and lack of transparency in terms of salaries versus other career pathways like higher education. So, and sometimes it could happen, like in Slovenia, that schemes are not well developed. For instance, in their case, apprenticeships were only introduced 4 or 5 years ago. So for now, the numbers are pretty low, but they are working on it and increasing the numbers by the days. So what can public institutions and VET providers do? Well, what our participants raised were mainly the need for cooperation and exchange among different stakeholders, like VET providers, education and training authorities, parents, companies. We need them all on board. We also need to ensure that the teachers have practical experience. It's not always easy because sometimes salaries for teachers are not competitive, particularly when the industry is offering very good posts and salaries. So we should find ways to include these kind of teachers that are working for the industry and they have state-of-the-art technology and could be a factor for innovation. Also, other points that could be addressed are the permeability and flexible pathways, ensuring there are options for apprentices and vet learners, and of course mobility and internationalization through the possibilities offered by the Erasmus program. In terms of employers, what can we do? Of course, improve working conditions in terms of salaries, in terms of upskilling and reskilling on the job, in terms of giving more complex tasks so the apprentices can go up and in their career path, and all this could be addressed through collective bargaining. And our last topic was on how to address gender stereotypes that are very common when it comes to apprenticeships and vet. And we all acknowledge that there is a problem with traditional roles and tasks with hands particularly. I mean, and we thought that this needs to be addressed from very early age, even in kindergarten, and include this in the curricula. Also try to include manual tasks in the curricula, so we all work with hands, both boys and girls, and then we could see this as a possible career pathway in the future. But public authorities and companies need to be involved, communication campaigns, awareness, and also ensure that companies provide with the necessary facilities for both women and men in the workplace. And I think that was it from us. We were pretty exhaustive and covered all the aspects. So thanks a lot, and I wish you the best for the continuation of the event.
Thank you very much, Anna. I think you stressed out a lot of important points. It sounds like your group was also very productive online. Thank you for this, and thank you for all of the insightful contributions to the workshops that we had today, and for the concise summarizes from the rapporteurs. Now I am happy to leave the floor to Guillaume Salvas, who is Senior Project Manager at Fundación Bertelsmann and responsible for the promotion of the project Alianza para la FP Dual, I hope it's correct, with the objective of implementing in Spain a dual VET system with high quality standards. Guillaume, you will moderate the next session and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Bueno, bona tarda a tothom. No sé si estem molt cansats.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Still energy. I hope we have still energy, because faré la sessió en anglès. Sorry. Faré la sessió en anglès.
The session will be in English, so if, in case you don't understand English, bear that in mind.
It's a little late. I hope we still have energy, because you will see now 5 good practices focused on apprentices, on apprenticeships, and nice things that are happening in 4 countries, Turkey, Austria, Ireland, and Catalonia, Spain. So I have the pleasure to invite our first speaker, Arja Kreugenberg. Please, Arja. Thank you. Okay. Do you want to sit down, or do you want to make it here?
I can stay here.
Better here? Okay. So let me introduce, and then I give you the floor, okay? Arja is Vice President of the Lifelong Learning Platform. She comes from Austria, as I have mentioned previously, and she will present a good practice focused on a network created by apprentices for apprentices in 2019, so 3 years ago, in an Austrian region. So please, Arya, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Más alto que yo. Bueno, muchas gracias por la invitación.
Well, thank you very much for the introduction. I'm going to switch to English in a bit, but I wanted to thank all the organizers, everyone who has made today's event possible. I know it's hard work. Also, big thanks to our interpreters who are doing an excellent job, says the speaker. And thank you for having invited me today to share with you an example coming from Austria.
My name is Arya Krauchenberg and I represent the Lifelong Learning Platform. Some of you might know us, some others might not, so I'm just going to say we are an organization based in Brussels, and our members are networks in the field of education, more than 40 networks in the field of education, and our goals, our members represent different learners, teachers, parents, and other stakeholders in the field. And we have heard today at several occasions that actually the networking is really very important. So that is something that we are constantly doing in our organization. We cover 3 sectors: the formal, the non-formal, and the informal. And many of our members are also involved in vocational education and training. Here you have a bit our objectives. I'm not going to read all that. But here you see that our members cover training, for instance, but also come from the vocational education and training sector. I'm going to present, as already said, an example from Austria. Yes. But before I do so, I would like to introduce you a little bit to the Austrian school system, because when I started in this field of apprenticeships, talking to other people from other countries, I found out that sometimes we talk about very different things, different ages of apprentices, different sectors of apprenticeships, and in order to give you a bit of an overview, I've brought you this overview over the Austrian system. Here you can see on the very left-hand side, all these sectors that you see there concern the upper secondary level. So we are talking about young people from the age of 14 to 18, 19. Actually, you have the age on the very right-hand side. On the left hand, you have the academic upper secondary education, and you can already see that in Austria, this is a minority program. Yeah? If you look at all the other sectors, everything else is vocational. So about 1/3 is still general academic education, 2/3 are vocational education and training, and of these 2/3, you have here a big part actually also in apprenticeships. Yeah? What you can also see very well on this image is that also something we talked about today. It's the permeability of the systems. So today you can actually go from all these upper secondary schools, you can go on in training, you can go on to universities of applied sciences, you can go on to universities, depending on what you have done and what your final exams have been. But this is something that is really important for the apprentices, of course, but also for their families, not to create any dead ends. Yeah? So that's one of the most important points. So, the Austrian school system, I've brought you also some numbers so that you can see the illustration of what I have just said. So we have 1.1 million students approximately. Austria altogether has 8.9 million inhabitants. And then you have the students, the total of the upper secondary school students, the vocational education sector, and also the apprentices. So you see that they represent a very big part of that sector. Now, I come to the representation, because we were talking today about the voices of apprentices, and contrary to some indications that have been made today also by our German colleague, the representation of apprentices, official representation I'm talking about, is not there in the same way as it is for all other upper secondary students. Yeah? Even though they go to a part-time vocational school next to the work in the company, because we have this dual education, yeah, where you have a part in the company and a part in a school. But even there, even in the school, they do not have the same representation as other school students. That's due to the fact that it's organized in a modular way, with different courses, etc., but it's not the same representation. There is representation through youth organizations, in some cases also through trade unions, but it is not in an organized way specific for apprentices. So, what has been done? In one of Austria's 9 regions, the most western one. For those of you who don't know Austria so well, I've brought you a map. So this little part over there, it's actually our smallest region in terms of surface. It's called Vorarlberg, and it's very close to Liechtenstein and Switzerland. Actually, it's further away from Vienna, that you have in the right-hand corner over there. It's further away from us than the Ukrainian border. Yeah? So just to give you an image. And in this region, we have a very, very specific case. Because in this region, more than 50% of the 15-year-old engage in apprenticeship. Yeah? Somebody said today, well, we want to have 5%, we want to have 8%. Well, here we are talking about half of the young population that engage already now in apprenticeship. Yeah? So this is a very, very specific situation. And even though they are such a big number, they had no proper representation. So, oops. Maybe I should, yeah. So in 2018-19, one of those young apprentices, a young man by the name of Jean-Philippe Bernica, decided that they needed to do something about this, and he started creating, because this was the moment of digitalization already in the schools, he started a digital network with the people he knew. Yeah? And very quickly, he came upon a couple of obstacles, yeah, that I've listed you here. One of them was apprenticeships usually take 2 to 4 years, so there was not really enough time to develop. The engaged people, and that you all know from your own experience, the engaged people are always the same, and the engaged people are busy also with other things, so it was not so easy to find people to engage in this network. The continuity, yeah, if people get out of apprenticeship after 2 years, to find new people, to guarantee continuity, etc., is not so easy. And the environment was not always so encouraging. So he started looking out for partners, and we've talked about that already today. He found what we call the Chamber of Economics. The Vorarlberg, so the Regional Chamber of Economics, as a partner, a little bit like the European Apprentice Network that was fostered by the European Commission. Yeah? So somebody who would facilitate the administration and would help them to really be a structured organization and guarantee that that structure continues even though the people in the network change. Yeah? That's a very, very important point. Yeah? But they immediately found out that that is not enough, that they actually need to get more people on board. Not only the chamber, the economic chamber, but also the chamber of employers and employees, the chamber of employees and workers, also the representation of the industry, yeah, the companies, the social sector, and so on. So they have founded a big network now. Yeah? They haven't got a logo. They were going to decide this today. So by the next session, I might be able to present you a little more. But they have engaged already, before creating this logo, in quite a number of interesting initiatives. Yeah? So the goals are to form a network of all those 7,000 apprentices in the region of Vorarlberg, workshops, all the companies met and came together and said, what do we need, what do we want, what do we expect from apprentices? And the apprentices came together and said, what do we expect from the companies, and how can we make all this match? And he's told me that they had a very, very open conversation, but they also put critics forward and said, well, we are isolated in our company. We don't know what happens in other companies. We don't know even what apprentices do within the company in a different department. Yeah? So to create more exchange among the apprentices was one of their demands. So they collected these critics, they assessed the demand, and they came up with a lot of new initiatives. One of them is called My Lehre. Lehre is the German word for apprenticeship. Yeah? The matchmaking between the needs or the ideas and wishes of apprentices and the expectations by a company. Because if you go and work in a company and your expectations don't match, yeah, it's like in a marriage, it doesn't work. Yeah? The Apprenticeship Ambassadors, we also had that today, remember? The young people going to schools and talking about their own experiences in order to motivate and to engage other young people. The virtual visits to businesses, of course, that was automatic almost when the pandemic started, because everything moved online. And all of a sudden, there was no question that you could also do virtual visits to a company to see what is happening inside. Yeah? We also have the initiative of an apprentice card. You might know in your own countries the student card. Well, apprentices were no students, so they didn't get anything. Yeah? So they are creating that now as well, with advantages for those young people who engage in activities that will have a point system, and you can then, for your points, for example, attend an interesting concert or gain points in order to engage in mobility, all sorts of things that are possible. E-sports tournaments, he told me, was also something that was very, very much in demand, open air sessions and so on. Yeah. What are the key elements? I think that's been mentioned today from the very beginning of this session today when the representative of the Catalan government talked about the alliances that need to be created. Yeah? Cooperation is key, cooperation of all stakeholders. Yeah? Where there's a will, there's a way. If you come together at the same table, we have heard that at several occasions today as well. Listen to each other, practice empathy and active listening, try to find out how you can make things match. It's a win-win situation for everybody. Yeah? All companies are involved, independent of size. Yeah? Austria, 80% of Austrian companies are SMEs. They need more support than big companies that have their own structure, evidently. But by working together in Austria, you also have inter-company trainingships, inter-company workshops where people are trained, where everybody chips in a bit, but then you get skilled workers in that way. The chambers, I know that the chambers in Austria work in a bit of a different way than they work, for instance, here in Spain, but it's important to have everybody on board. And then, of course, NGOs, civil society, and the parents, because remember, we talk in Austria about young people from the age of 15. Yeah? So parents still play an essential role. They have a legal responsibility. They have to sign the papers. So without them, things don't really work, and they still have an influence also in the career guiding. Thank you very much. Y si tienen preguntas, por favor, estoy aquí. Gracias.
And if you have any questions, please do ask.
Thanks a lot, Arya. I'm quite curious about this rate of 50% of apprenticeships in this concrete region. If we have no time, you will explain me in the dinner, okay? Because it takes my attention. Okay, so our second speaker comes from Ireland. He's Michael Fitzgerald. Please, Michael, come. He's Technical Training and Development Manager of ESB Networks in Ireland. ESB, if I'm not wrong, is a big company providing electricity to the Irish society. Michael will present a good practice focused on the ESB apprenticeship model. Thank you. Please, the floor is yours.
So thank you, and it's great to be here and to meet friends in person. Always a very positive group. So my presentation is on the model that we've created in terms of our apprenticeship, and I'll get to the end where I'll talk about the engagement and giving the apprentice a voice. So our apprenticeship model is based on a 4-year contract, which the apprentices have with us. So we're training our own apprentices. They do practicals, they do theory, and then they do a number of rotations. So they are electricians in the main, but then they do a number of other rotations, and they do personal training as well, you know, in terms of personal development, negotiation skills, presentation, because at the end of the day, this cadre of young people will be the future supervisors, managers within the company. So we need to develop leadership right from the start. So the apprenticeship runs, as I say, for 4 years. There is an option then once they are hired as staff, and the majority succeed and are hired as staff. There's an option then through apprenticeship model to do another 2 years and to gain an electrical engineering degree. So we can go to degree level through this model. Now, I'll talk about feedback then later on from the apprentices. The actual apprenticeship itself opens up quite a large number of specialist technical courses and specialist technical career options that we develop through the apprenticeship. And once then once they are staff, there's further training in those specialisms. So in terms of recruitment and diversity, obviously we have a very proactive annual campaign. We do believe in investing in apprenticeships generally, not just for ourselves, but in apprenticeships in general, because obviously a rising tide raises all boats, and it's to everybody's benefit. So we do a lot of school visits, and we have career guidance open days for career guidance teachers and for classes from secondary schools as well. We open up the training centre. People come in and they see what it's all about. We promote various events as well, such as World Skills and STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and maths. So, we do a lot of promotion in those areas. We're obviously looking for diversity, but diversity isn't just, there are many aspects to diversity, and the apprentices that we get in do tend to be, certainly they're age diverse. So we have all the way from school leavers right through to people who are graduates already, or they may have careers in other industries or other places, and they come into us as well. So we have quite a wide variety of age groups. We've had a very active campaign trying to increase the gender representation as well for females. It's now at 15% and rising. This, of course, means that you have to have a very large catchment area. You have to promote apprenticeships very widely in order to increase particular aspects of diversity, because the quality of candidates has to be maintained, because it is an industry where there are particular risks. So, green and digital, and I acknowledge here some inspiration that we received from a previous EAfA visit to Skopje. So I thank Anna for that, showing the importance of digital connectivity for apprentices. So we've done quite a bit of work there. That's our chief executive up there on the top left, addressing a first day class of apprentices last summer. So we do a lot of work in terms of connecting, and many of our courses are online. The theory part is online, but we have a great emphasis on practicals. So as soon as the theory is completed, we're straight onto the practicals, and that's a way of strengthening the learning mechanism, and they actually enjoy it as well. So what's important to us in terms of green is the carbon net zero that every utility in the EU has to meet, 2030 and 2050 targets, really important to us. So we train on new technologies. You can see some of them there, training on photovoltaics, how to manage that technology, etc. Green has a broader agenda also. So we teach our apprentices the importance of sustainability and biodiversity. So our training centre here, we have decided, is going to be a model for national biodiversity within this industry. So we're involving apprentices in every aspect of the design of this particular project. Again, something they enjoy. So looking to the future, innovation and innovative ways of learning. Young people nowadays learn in a different manner. We were hearing about that earlier on. They learn in a different manner, and we have to engage with that. But it's not for us to speak down to our apprentices. We involve them in the creation of much of the learning. We have particular feedback sessions with them, which I'll talk about later on, where we ask them, what do you need to know? What is it that we're not training you in that you would like to know about? And they tell us that. So we say, okay, well, if you want a course in that, the best people to give that course are those who know most about it, which is themselves. For example, in the different rotations, there needs to be a link between the different rotations. So apprentices who are coming from one field of work, and on their first day in work in a different area, they need to know, for example, the names of the tools, the types of equipment they're going to be using, all simple things. But they know what they don't know, if you know what I mean. So what we say is, okay, here's a camera, here's how to use it, make that film. So you can do it. You know what you need to know, and here we'll help you to make that video for all apprentices that we have. And that has worked very well. So it's because of the industry we're in, there is a strong motivation, obviously, in relation to safety. So we try to create an environment where apprentices can make mistakes in a safe environment. So for that reason, we use simulators. We've created simulators for various aspects of driving. For example, our use of various tools. We have virtual reality, where you can actually do things, explore things that normally you would never get to do. Obviously, in the real world, you couldn't do that. So virtual reality is very important to us. We pilot many courses as well. So before we run a course, we do a pilot. And on the top right there, we see a track course in car driving. And I'm delighted that our EAfA colleague Migle joined us on this one. And again, there are two apprentices on that course. It's a course intended for them. So it's very important for us to know what they think of it. And we brought them along there. And the simulator there that I'm showing you up on the top left, again, they're all apprentices that are showing us what works and doesn't work in that simulation. So the other aspect of the apprenticeship that's important to us is engagement. So we're very driven to engage with other EU utilities. So we have an Erasmus scheme, and our first student starts with us in July. He's from France, and he's starting with us in July. We'll be doing a share scheme, so some of our trainers will be going to France, and theirs coming to us. And then after that, we'll also have apprentices sharing spaces. We would like to extend that to other utilities also, which, the benefit of sessions like this is that you get to meet those people and make those links, which lead to Erasmus and other engagements. So that's important to us. And then finally, the main part of our agenda here today is giving the apprentices a voice. So everything we do with our apprentices, we ask them. We do give them a voice. We have a proactive promotion in the media of what our apprenticeship is. So on the left there is Emily on national television explaining about our apprenticeship and just apprenticeships generally, not just ours. And she did as good a job as an interviewee as I've ever seen. It's an extremely good interview. We have an Apprentice of the Year competition, which is very widely known, and where people come along and they do, they demonstrate technical skills in front of a large audience. And again, that's promoting the technical skills and apprenticeship generally. We have a newsletter. We have mentor sessions as well. So we have 4 days a year where we bring all the mentors from around the country, and we talk to them about what works, doesn't work in terms of the mentorship. But more importantly, we have a formal session with our apprentices. So we have 4 half-day sessions where we have a blended class, first year, second year, third, fourth, and recent graduates of our apprentices. We have a facilitated session, and we look for their feedback, and we implement that feedback. We give them a copy of what that feedback was, and we try to implement that. Those, within our power to do, we do. So that's very important. And my final example, we are doing an extension onto the training centre, a very large extension. So part of the design team for that are apprentices. So they're designing what they want for the future. That's really building the future. Very concrete example. So that's pretty much what I have to say. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Michael, for this really inspiring example. I would be, again, very curious in knowing, for instance, the placement rate that you have within the apprenticeship system in your company, but in the dinner, okay? So we will move now to our Turkish colleagues, Mr. Recep Atar. Recep Atar is project expert, sorry for the pronunciation, is project expert on the HAK-İş, a Turkish Trade Union Confederation, and Recep will present the policies developed by this organization to promote internships and apprenticeships, mainly inside the union itself. Please, Recep, the floor is yours. Please be strict with your time. Thank you. 7-8 minutes.
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. This is Recep Atar from Turkey. I am representing Turkish Trade Union Confederation. First of all, about us, we have around 750,000 members in all sectors throughout the country. We are a member of ETUC, ITUC, Labor 20, OECD TAC. Also, we are also representing ACVT and National Qualification Authority. We are also a member of National WET team at Turkish National Agency. As a confederation, we try to provide continuous support to main reskilling, upskilling opportunities to all people, especially youngers, and particularly female workers, in line with ILO codes, ETUC codes, and ITUC codes. As our mission and vision, as a social partner, we support all workers, especially youngers, to build bridges for skill gaps between education and employment. Since 1996, our confederation and our sectoral unions steadily provide internship opportunities to youngers from secondary schools, university students, and some master students. We do this job in close cooperation with Turkish Employment Agency. Its acronym İşkur. Maybe you wonder about the gender distribution. Female participation is over 50%, and male participation is around 47%. On the other side, you see education level, master degree less than 10%, high school students around 7%, and around 90% of undergraduate, it means university students. You see some images from our internship program. We are also implementing some Erasmus Plus projects in benefit of youngers. From this program, so far, around 50% of our associate experts and experts have been selected from those candidates. As a social partner, as a labor organization, I would like to emphasize that we should have some quality criteria for internship. It should never lead to job replacement. It means that it will never cause to any turnover current employment. The second one, remuneration, reimbursement, and other compensations. Internship should be compensated at the same level as regular employees. Then we completely against any discrimination. Also, social protection and insurance should be provided to all interns or trainees. Through this program, we ensure that a quick adaptation into labor market by organizing face-to-face meetings with executives and experts, such as Foreign Affairs Department, Industrial Relations Unit, Project Implementation and Coordination Unit. We regularly organize face-to-face meetings with those youngers for quick adaptation, and to equip them with a vision. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks a lot, Recep, and thanks for being strict with the time, because we are a little bit late. I take the idea of how a union, a trade union, can be a place also to receive, why not, students to learn. There are many things to learn as well in this kind of organizations that used to be big organizations. Great. So let's move now to the Catalan good practices. The first one, here it's easy for me, the pronunciation. Joan Daniel Subirats Armengol. Very easy, no? Joan Daniel Sobirats Armengol. Recep, it's more difficult for me. He's the dual coordinator and vet teacher at Institut Comte de Rius in Tarragona. Tarragona is a lovely city in the south of Catalonia. If you know this city, you should visit it. Roman city. Joan Daniel will present the dual vet cooperation program with BASF, the German chemistry company. Please, my colleague, don't be strict with the time. Thank you. The presentation will be in Catalan.
Hola, bona tarda a tothom.
So, good afternoon, everyone.
In Spanish or Catalan, because it's better for me. M'agradaria donar les gràcies.
I would like to thank all the associations that have made this event possible. This has been made possible because of the Catalan Ministry of Education, the Bertelsmann Foundation, the European Commission. I can use either English, Spanish, or Catalan. Matter, says the speaker.
Sorry. Institut Comte de Rius és un institut que...
Our high school is in Tarragona. Tarragona is like 60 miles from Barcelona, some 100 kilometers from Barcelona. And now come to the Rius. This high school has 1,200 students, 97 teachers on secondary school. That's on bachelor's degree as well. And with several learnings from vocational training, amongst others. We mostly focus on chemistry, as you can see here in bold. And this is the only school in Tarragona where chemistry is lectured, with over 500 students, and 20 of them leave on a yearly basis to Germany.
To Germany. I finalment tenim també...
And so we also have several vocational subjects. The project I'm about to tell you today was born some 10 years ago. It attaches a greater significance to European cooperation because of two things. Mostly because of the classes, of the lessons that we delivered. These are lessons in German, so that the students can get to the B1 level, and also with internships at Ludwigshafen and in Tarragona. This project is quite similar to the German project, where we took some ideas from, but following the Catalan regulation. This project goes through several steps, through several stages as related to BASFs. First, a selection process. This process recruits 20 students per year, and these students may come from anywhere in Spain. We've had some Basque students, some Galician students, and from all over Catalonia and Spain. Secondly, after these selection that BASF selects, they have these classes at our high school. First with some classes, with some lessons in the morning, and then some German lessons in the afternoon. Here you can see our facilities. After the first course, once they have passed all their skills, and they go to Germany for 5 weeks, where they stay in BASF's facilities, in the plants, and also the teachers go along with them with this cooperative learning. And on a second course, they stay for 4 days at BASF Tarragona. So they have this internship either in Catalan or Spanish, and then once a week at our high school for practical or lecturing training. Then after that there are 5 weeks of practices at Ludwigshafen, and what they do is to contribute with all the ideas that they have seen at the high school so that they can take action on that. Here you can see also how the different teachers can cooperate in making this possible. And finally, they are given a plant operator position in Ludwigshafen in Germany. So anyone having gone through all the certificates, the German certificates, will eventually get these as plant operator. And again, now through the German Chamber of Commerce, we had a dual qualification. They have the Catalan and Spanish qualification, where as a chemistry operator, and also because of our relationship we've had with BASF in Ludwigshafen, the high school, and all the stakeholders, we have managed that they have this dual qualification as a chemicant. Here you can see the first class in 2013, and now I'd like to emphasize, to stress the pros of this European project. There are several aspects to it. First, direct knowledge by the company, because as you have seen, there are some hours of internship within the company. Then they get to know firsthand the BASF's facilities, so they have their own facilities they have their working school, much like you would have here. It's an automotive plan here, and they can implement their knowledge at BASF's Ludwigshafen. Also, an important thing, as you do with any type of dual VT, is to try and incorporate the students into their position, so they are apart from the very first day of the company and they are fully integrated. And finally, teaching recognition and academic recognition. This is something that has been achieved with all stakeholders, including the German Chamber of Commerce, so that they get this dual qualification. And we deliver the same subjects here in Catalonia and Spain, but the curriculum should be a European one. And this is something to improve upon when it comes to VET, because the curriculum should be the same for any region, and this is something to improve also for universities, because when it comes to paperwork, it's a bit of an issue. And finally, another aspect that there is much work upon is curricular adaptability. That figure you can see below is really important to us and to BASF, because this is how, at first, when starting course, we train 1,000 students, 20 of them from our high school. What are the advantages for us and the school? First, it increases the perceived value of our institute in that it is well recognized throughout Catalonia and Spain, and this project has received several awards. Also, increasing the motivation of students, which from the very first day are willing to improve. Also, teacher satisfaction, and that teachers get some extra training and they can attend any BASF meeting in Germany, which is something that helps improving the training of the teaching staff. And it's also an improvement on the working relationship between the institute and the company. And this is an important thing in that this project, again, they started back in 2013. However, it started off as an inception through Leonardo da Vinci, kind of an Erasmus project, out of the ability to have, both from Germany and Spain, have this joint venture in training. And the last item here, and then a small clip, are the advantages for the students. And I think that this is the most interesting part, precisely, in that these have this combined training so that the subjects and the training delivered is done in hand with all partners joining. They get to learn German at B1 level, B1, and also they have this personal experience in the European Union as well as working for BASF in Ludwigshafen. And given that we have a high unemployment rate for young people here in Spain, while it's lower in Germany, that's a win-win for everyone. And let me show you some examples of the students' views. Here you can see in these newspaper headlines, Germany forever in Catalan, and then the other one in German, Junge Spanier als neue Fachkräfte, where we have the top, or the head of training, with a small recognition. I have just a two-minute clip, may I? That they had the
strangest feeling that something was going to change. Census had become usual that week. I had met the most unexpected people, and also I had doubts on my professional career, my future career. Some say that fate guides our life, and fate brought me here. Or so would it seem. I will start from the beginning. Yes, the girl sitting at the bus stop is me, and yes, it looks like I am thinking. And here comes Maria, my first chance, my first coincidence. I haven't seen her for years. She was my teacher at high school, and she taught me how to love science. I told her about my tragedies, and she only asked to walk with her to the high school. So I took a peek at a classroom where everyone was speaking in German. And I had this poker face because Maria started laughing. I didn't get the wrong class. This was a program of dual VET with VASF. And I asked, what does this have to do with me? She said, this cycle will prepare you to be a plant operator in Germany. So it has a lot to do with you, because to do this dual VET, you'd have to be adventurous, have a spirit of science, and be very constant, very consistent. So I went back home thinking this could be a very good chance for me, dual VET. And this was the second event of chance. A group of colleagues, of classmates that could be my colleagues here. And so I was invited to talk to Livia and Carlos because they had had experience with this project in Germany. And I could see this clear. They loved their job and science was their life. They had a permanent job in Germany, nothing to worry about. Language was not a barrier. In the VET, dual VET classes, they had been taught German. They were continuously training and learning all the time. They would miss their family, but they visited whenever they could because Germany is just around the corner. They had met good friends over there. They could seize and use their time because they worked in rotation shifts. So when I got out of high school, I sent an email with my CV and the presentation letter. I couldn't miss this chance. The next thing would be to get through the interview. It seemed difficult, but actually I did it. when I finish my studies, I will have a permanent job as a plant operator in Germany. I will live a new adventure and learn a new language. Truly, sometimes 1,000 of facts happen that are surprising, like seeing people you wouldn't expect and making decisions that change your fate. In the end, the success in your life is not related to the alignment of the stars, but just a bunch of good decisions and a lot of effort. As a good friend said, be adventurous, love science, and be consistent. This is the formula to be one more at the dual VT in Germany.
Daniel.
Thank you very much, Joan Daniel, from the Comptadores Institute.
Going to our last speaker, also a Catalan good practice, this time from Lleida, from another region, in the way to Madrid, let's say. Joan Carles Ballester. Joan Carles Ballester is a vet teacher and tutor at Escola del Treball in Lleida. And Joan Carles will present a dual vet project taught in this school through project-based learning and involvement of the apprentices within this project. Thank you, Joan Carles. Please, the floor is yours.
Okay.
So, please, can you put the video now? Thank you.
Hola, soy Guillermo Boy. Actualmente estoy cursando el segundo.
Hello, I'm Guillermo, and I'm currently in my second year of the quality control course at the school, and I am doing some stage in the dual school. We focus on the manufacturing of metallic components for the automotive industry. And in this map, we can see our different plants, Hungary, Barcelona, Solsona, Tamarite, Montblanc, and Rees in the United States. And you see in yellow our HQs, and in blue the plants where machinery is manufactured. Here I learned to put the theory into practice, and here I've been able to learn many techniques and methodologies that are very specific for my sector. And I've learned the importance of the company. In my project, I explain what a sinterizing process means, its features in the different metallic components, and thanks to some essays and their resistance to micro scratches, and that they require very specific equipment. I'm going to show you a little bit my workplace. This is my lab, and we can see the cutter. Here we can see other machinery for the assays, cleaning assays, a heater, a scale, a rugozimeter to measure rugosity, a machine that calculates the drop that is required, a machine that measures the carbon percentage of a particular component. This is for micro hardenings. You see different lens. And with this part, you prepare what you require. Here we have this would be a more normal machine with different scales, Roxwell and Brinell. And this is yet another machine, the computer, everything. And finally, we have the 3 coordinates machine, which is the most sensitive one. It has different components you can see, and they actually prepare the shape, the contour of the piece, of the part. Thanks to this project that I can share with my peers the knowledge that I've acquired in a very positive work environment. Thanks to Ames for allowing me to produce this video and for giving me the opportunity.
for watching the video. I'm sorry it was in Spanish, but anyway, I think you got a right idea of what it wanted to show. So thank you very much for this great occasion to be here in this event in the voice of apprentices in the frame of the European Year of the Youth 2022. I am here on behalf of the Escola del Treball, which is a school which you can find in the hinterlands in Lleida, which is not really far away from Barcelona. It's a vocational education and training center, which is devoted to this laboratory of analysis and quality control study program, which is a 2-year program. And after this, I want just to show you, because of today, who is the real protagonist of these sessions are the students. So I would like to show you what the students think about their own experience with us in our center. So we were kind of pioneers in the whole country in Spain when it comes to PBL learning studies, learning programs, which were first implemented in renewable energies, and now they've been implemented in our study program in which I'm teaching. Actually, it's the laboratory, as I told you before. They think that it's very nice because it's always student-centered, so students are the real protagonists of their own studies. They are working in a teamwork, which is very important from their own perspective. Soft skills and other problems are being learned about how to be solved. And they think that working via PBL is very challenging for them and very enthralling indeed. Knowledge, in this case of learning, sinks in deeply than in classical modes like rote learning and many other. So, why is it good? In the presentations of the projects, which are public, we involve enterprises to come, the representatives of the enterprises to come and to see and to witness this show, which is very amazing in their own words, because they think that students are very skilled when it comes to present in public. So here you have got an image of a public presentation, and on the other hand, why is it good to enroll as a student in a dual VET program? So one of the answers is, as they say in here, students, because you get paid, so you've got your first income, even if very small, but as being an apprentice, so this is good for them, and they think that they have more chances to stay in the business or in the workplace they are. So, and a longer apprenticeship program leads towards a more solid acquisition of skills, because they are indeed 1,000 hours in the workplace, in the work placement, instead of almost 500, which was the old program. So this is the dual program. Students are very skilled when making presentations in front of other classmates, and here's why the main title, the gist of what I wanted to say, is clearly seen in here, because here is when the knowledge transfer occurs in between the workplace and the students, and is transmitted it's conveyed via a student. So you can really think that how skillful they are. Which is the great thing about the combination of them both, I mean PBL and on the other hand, the dual system. So it enables knowledge transfer from the enterprise to the study center via the student's voice. They receive support in the workplace in order to perform their last project, so as to get their degree. Then What else can we say in here? So that they are able to use and to have in their hands the latest equipment in the workplace, which we couldn't afford in our center, in our study center, because we just don't have the money to do so. So we can say that they have the state-of-the-art technology, and they bring it to the classroom and share it with the other students. So, just to finish, this is a list of our partners. The first one, which is AMES, is in Huesca, in Osca, is the one that you saw in the video, in which there was the student who was explaining what he was doing. And this was to finish. Thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any question, we'll be glad to answer them.
Moltes gràcies, Joan Carles, per la bona...
Thank you very much, Joan Carles, for your clear presentation.
We are at the end of this session. No time for questions. I'm afraid we are really delayed. We are in Barcelona, so we have to be a little bit delayed, otherwise the topic can be accomplished. So thank you very much for these 5 lovely presentations from Austria, from Ireland, from Turkey, and from Catalonia. And let's keep having a nice session. Thank you.
While they are leaving, I'm using the other entrance. So, this was our last panel discussion for today. I think it was also very fruitful. Thank you, Guillaume, and to your amazing panelists for this discussion on good practices of involving apprentices in different national programs. Before I will leave now the floor to Chiara from the DG Employment for the closing remarks, I want you to spend 5 seconds, I know we are over time, but that's okay, to think what is your main takeaway from home from today. For me, it's Yaxi Yaxi. So, Chiara, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mateusz. Thank you to everyone. The room is still full and still also full of energy. So I will not even try to summarize what we have discussed here today. First of all, we don't have the time, but also it would not be possible because the discussions were just too rich. I will just try to flag some buzzwords that you can add to those that you thought about in these 5 seconds that Mateusz gave you. I noted down quality, attractiveness, participation in decision-making, pay, diversity, permeability, well-being, green and digital. Did I mention pay? So I would like to ask you to take these buzzwords with you, to take everything that you have learned today and bring it back to your home countries or to your organizations and try and discuss and work on these things, because these are really important topics. And we heard from young people themselves, this is what they want to talk about with us. I would just like to tell you that we are working on these things within the European Alliance for Apprenticeship. So if you have time, if you have the curiosity, just go on our webpage, because there are resources and learning tools and webinars that you can access and that can be useful. For example, we had important discussions on digital apprentices, going digital in apprenticeships. We had interesting discussion and tools on greening in apprenticeships. We are going to have a discussion, a live discussion on the 7th of April on inclusiveness and assistive technologies and accessible digital learning environments for persons with disabilities. So there are good practices and things that we can learn from each other. So please do visit our webpage and stay in touch and continue to work with us on these important topics. Then just really to close, I would like to spend the last few minutes for the thank yous, because I think that there are many people who deserve our thanks. First of all, I would like Norbert to join me for these thank yous. I would like to really thank very much the Directorate General for Vocational Education of the Regional Government of Catalonia and Maria Pascual in particular. Thank you so much for being such great host for this wonderful conference. And there is a very small but sweet token of our appreciation. And also big thank you to the Fundación Bertelsmann and of course Guillaume and Clara for helping us achieve this wonderful event. I would like to thank ECORIS and our apprenticeship support services. I would like to thank very much the interpreters, this wonderful audience, and the European Apprenticeships Network, of course. If you allow me, a special thanks to my staff today, to Norbert and Anne and Bilal, who are here today, and the colleagues in Brussels who have worked 2 years on this event, and of course, last but not least, absolutely, thanks to Mateusz for being such a brilliant and wonderful chaperone. So, on this note, Mateusz, give you back the floor for the final housekeeping information, and thanks a lot to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Chiara, for this nice final words, for this inspiring final words, and also for your thank you to all the important people here today. I think we had a great day with a lot of outcome. And now, before finalizing the day, we should take a group photo. But for this, you stay seated, so far I understand, and the photographer will come to the stage. And after this, don't run away, because I have some final instructions which will not take long. So, dear photographer, now the stage is yours. Yeah. Also, thank you for this work today.
Thank you.
If it's okay for everyone, take off the mask for the photo. Who is not feeling comfortable, don't worry.